This is Garden Girl Marcy Penner for Two Peas in a Bucket, bringing you another video in the Project Life series.
Okay, I wanted to share with you guys a little bit about how I have captured vacations and the surrounding weeks in my Project Life in the past. This is a new album that I've been putting my Project Life spreads into, so I don't have it marked or labeled in any way, but this was the first year that I tackled Project Life. And let's see, here we took a trip to Florida. We left near the end of the week, I suppose. So for this year, I decided I was new to Project Life. I was finding my way with everything. You can see very little embellishing and lots of index cards. But anyway, I combined the photos from my trip and the journaling right on the same page. And I took all my memorabilia and I put it into different sized page protectors, and you can just go inside to grab out what you want. And I took small items and I put them into just a baseball card trading card page protector. So that was 1 week of our holidays. And then the second week, again, same thing, journaling mixed in with photos, and then the memorabilia being separate in different kinds of page protectors. So those were the 2 weeks that we were gone, and that is how I tackled it the first year. Now, the second year that we went, I did it a bit differently. I decided to do my spreads mostly photos, and I stuck my journaling on a separate 8.5 by 11 sheet. I just typed it on the computer and put it in a page protector. And I took all my memorabilia and I put them in large 12 by 12 envelopes. And again, you can just open them and get in there to get out whatever you want. And for that year, I actually took these envelopes with me on the trip and labeled them for a week and just stuck things in there as the week went on, and it was all in there and I just popped it in, and I worried just about photos on my spreads. And I was really happy with how this turned out. Just little bits of notes every day, nothing major, but mostly photos, because you take a ton of photos on holidays, and I mean, they should be represented in Project Life for sure, I think. So for that trip, I have the 2 weeks we were gone, so I have the 2 envelopes for memorabilia and then the 2 pages of journaling. Now when we come back, there's a little bit of our trip left, and then we come back on a Wednesday. So the Wednesday is just the normal day at home, getting back into routine. This side of the spread is still for the holiday, and the beginning of that trip is much the same. We left a bit early, so this right-hand side is trip, and this is regular at home. So this year, I wanted to do something a little bit different. Let me go back here again. I wanted to pretty much follow how I did last year in the fact that I will have this left page being the week at home. And for these pages that are vacation, so that would be this right side all the way through to this left side, because we're leaving at the same time we did in previous years. I wanted to have this in a handbook this year and make a little mini album. I haven't done that for a trip in a while. So I'm going to have, if you take these out, I'm going to have my beginning of a week here and an end of a week here, which should work out okay. And I plan to do a divider of some sort in the middle, just saying where those missing weeks were. So those are 2 ideas, and then the third that I'm going to do with you guys today, and for capturing a vacation, and then those odd surrounding weeks, because we leave on a Thursday or a Friday and we get back on a Tuesday. So there's always, like 4 or 5 days of a week here, and here there's maybe 2, not enough for a full 2-page spread. So these are just different ways that I've tackled it in the past, and I'm going to try a new way this year, but I have a little calendar that hopefully will clear that up a little bit before we start.
So here is a calendar showing my weeks surrounding my vacation. The vacation weeks are in blue. The normal weeks are in yellow, so the red weeks are the ones I have that surround my vacation that are short weeks. I have 5 days at the beginning of 1 week, and then at the end of a few weeks later, I have 3 days that I chose to do alone. So I have 5 days that I'm going to be putting on a 1-page spread this week. I pulled a bunch of American crafts, October afternoon, my mind's eye, crepe paper, and other supplies. So I'm going to start by drawing out my template on my table and laying the photos on like I had in my planner. The bottom section of the spread is all photos from one event, and my first thought was to put the journaling card right in there as well. But I noticed the arrow and I put it up top so it was actually pointing down at my photo, and I think that's going to work better. I'm going to slide a smash card in there, and I'm going to start with that one. So I'm rummaging through my Studio Calico wood veneer, and I thought instead of checking off one of the circles, it might be cool if I could stick a little star on it, and the littlest star in the pack actually fits quite nicely. So I'm going to take a crate paper. I love both sides of this one, so I'm actually going to try both out and see what I think. My big concern with this spread was the burgundy red shirt that my daughter is wearing on the bottom, and there's no way on earth I'm ever going to match that in a paper. So I decided to venture more onto the dark pink side of the spectrum for that one. So the pink on this side of the paper brings that out a little bit. So that's why I chose to go with that side as opposed to the wood veneer. So to spice up the bottom a little bit, I'm going to go through my washi and I'm going to do some stars. The photo is of a street corner, but the journaling is actually going to be about a movie night. We were headed to town to pick up a movie, so I thought the stars kind of went with the movie theme. So I'm just going to layer that across the bottom and fold back the ends. So now I'm going to take my adhesive and I'm going to glue down that little wood veneer star that I had chosen. I'm going to put it on the family time circle, and it's just going to kind of reinforce the theme again, I guess, about our movie night that we had. And I'm going to add my journaling and stamp a date on it. So I have a brand new ink pad and I'm not used to the darkness of it. I stamped multiple times because normally my ink pad is pretty dry and dead, but this one's a brand new one and I'm not quite used to it yet. So I'm still going to stamp multiple times just because that's normally what I have done. So now I'm going to get out an October afternoon brad pack, and I actually just want to use this little white tag that's on top of the orange tag. So I'm going to take the brads off and I'm going to work at peeling that off, and it's actually adhered down really, really well. So I'm going to be wrecking the part behind it, but that's okay. So I'm going to rip that off, and my plan is to layer that in the bottom left corner just to fill up some of the space there and add a little more interest. So it fits, and I will glue that down and I will come back later and sew it. Just again, that is just something I tend to do on all my little pockets. So we'll stick that down just so the title kind of shows. I don't need any of the little journaling lines underneath, and I'm just going to trim that off. And I'm going to add a little bit more to it just because I think it's a little empty. So I'm going to go to my trusty enamel dots and keep them on the plastic as I layer them over just to kind of see which one I want. And my first thought was to go to the pink again to kind of reinforce that pinky red theme. And then I grabbed a blue in the same size and didn't like that. It was just too similar. So I picked a smaller size, and I'll just lay that down with my X-Acto knife. And I'm happy with how that looks, so I'm going to leave that to sew on it later. So I'm going to work on the photo on the right-hand side, and I want to put my title and my journaling on a small tag. So I'm going to pull up my basic gray micro alphabets, and I'm going to just do a quick little check to make sure that my title should fit. So I'm just approximately counting out the number of letters that are in my title. My title is going to be evidence, so I just kind of counted out that number of letters just to do a quick check to see if it probably would fit. Sometimes I'll get the title on the tag and then it doesn't fit, and then I have to stick the stickers back on the sheet and whatever. I didn't want to do that this time. So it fits, so I'm going to pull them off with my X-Acto knife and stick them on my ruler and just put my title down. And once that's done, I'm going to stick my tag onto a sheet of loose leaf just so I can run it through my typewriter. So I adhered the tag and it came off great. and it's ready to stick on. I didn't even need to put on extra adhesive at all, so I just lay that on the top. I pulled out a couple of apple embellishments I had that I thought would reinforce the school theme. I have an apple wood veneer from Studio Calico and a apple badge from October Afternoon, and I think I like the badge better just because I have a wood veneer on the card adjacent to it as well. And I've pulled off an October Afternoon label and stuck it to a sheet of loose leaf to trim around. I either stick stickers on my jeans and rip them off to make them kind of unsticky, or I stick them on a piece of paper and trim around them. I like the ability of moving things around and shuffling things around before I commit to a placement. So I like where it's placed right there, and I'm just going to stamp the date in that corner and add the badge, and that's all I really want to do there. So I'm going to have it overlap the edge a little bit, and I'm just going to trim that excess off later. So because I've stuck it on a sheet of loose leaf, I have to add my adhesive again, but it does give me the option of now I could peel it off if I didn't like it and still be able to move it around and not wreck anything, which I have done in the past. So this is one of my new favorite sheets of pattern paper. I like both sides of this one. So I'm going to use one of the Pebbles sticky note papers, and I want to use that near the top of my journaling card. So I'm checking to see which side of the pattern paper I want to use right now. I love the triangle side, but I think the orange side makes the stars in the sticky note pop a little bit, so I'm going to go with that one. And I just really want this top part, so I'm going to trim the journaling lines off, and I'm just going to stick the title portion on the top piece of my card. It does stick past a little bit, but I'll just trim that off later. So I'm going to arrange my photo on there now and see if I do think I need some journaling or not. And I don't really think I do for this photo at all, so I'm just going to glue it down and cover up most of the card that's left. And I want to have something at the bottom, so I'm going to go through the new knee-highs and bow ties pack of flags from Basic Grey. They're really, really cute, and I love the colors. And I think I want to have one of them on the bottom, but just the flag part, not the actual toothpick. So I'm just going to trim that off, and I am going to staple that to the bottom corner. And I chose this one over the other one I had because the other one had the word awesome on it, and I already have that in my title, so I figured that was a little redundant. So I curled up the edges a little bit, and I'm going to use my tiny attacher to attach that and just add a little bit of glue to stick it down, and I think that's really cute. So I'm going to work on the calendar that I include on every spread, and I'm going to use the Amy Tangerine calendar stamp for this one. I'm going to stamp on a scrap piece of white paper a couple times and see which of the stamped versions turns out better. I've wrecked a lot of things by stamping directly on the item I wanted to use before, so I've learned to do it on a piece of white paper and just work with that. So the second one turned out half decent, so I'm going to trim that out, and I will eventually be sewing it onto a tag. So I have that ready, and I'm going to go through my Dear Lizzie tags and find a few that I think the calendar might fit on nicely. So I'm looking for tags that have a bigger space available on them and not necessarily journaling lines. So I've got these three, and it fits nicely on all three of them, and I like this one, I think, although the one with the mint green was kind of cool too. But I'll choose this one, and I'm going to glue that to the top. And because I'm working with just one side of a spread this week and I don't have a lot of room for extra things, I think I'm also going to use this tag to denote the week. So I'm going to open the pack of Amy Tangerine stickers, and these are the ones that are kind of a vellum, and they look really cool layered, I found out. So I'm looking for week 11. So I'm digging through and trying to find the numbers, and there are not enough number ones of one color on this sheet. So I'm going to use the eyes to make an 11 anyway. So I want a W, a K out of pink, and then I'm going to pick the two eyes from the blue, and hopefully that will look like week 11. So I'm lining these up on my ruler just like I did the stickers before, and It's looking to me like it's not ones, and it looks kind of funky, like I'm spelling wiki or something. I don't know. But I'm going to put them down anyway. And at the end of the spread, it actually grew on me a little bit. So now I realize that I have to trim my tag to fit in the pocket. So I'm just going to use the neighboring card just to trim the bottom off and have that fit that way. And then I realized that I actually have to back it with something because it's too thin. So I took a piece of Maggie Holmes paper, 6x6 paper, and I chose the dark navy because I thought it kind of balanced the dark black mat on the photo on the bottom right. And again, I just had to trim off a little bit of my tag because before I had it touching the top and I wanted some of the paper at the top. So I did that, and I'm going to put that aside for sewing as well. So I'm going to use a 4x6 sticky notepad from Knock Knock that says "For your attention, please" in this pocket. I thought it went really well with the photos and the notes that I had from my son asking me to help him with a craft project. So I'm going to just adhere it to a 4x6 index card just so that it has a little more stability. And I'm going to add my photo, and I'm going to layer some Echo Park paper beneath it and just play around with my placement a little bit. I want to make sure I have room for journaling and whatnot, so I'm going to probably put it on the upper left. I'm just going to trim the side of the paper a little bit because I decided that I wanted a little bit of a different color paper peeking out just to break up the blue that I have going on at the bottom there. So I chose a diagonal yellow striped paper because it kind of went with the Dear Lizzie tag and the stars on the You Are Awesome card and just balance that out a little bit. So I'm going to glue that behind it, and I'll come back later and sew over that and all that fun stuff. So that's glued down, and my adhesive's not working properly. Now it's glued down, and I'm going to take my photo and glue that down as well and think about what I want to do with the rest of this pocket. So once that's down, I'm going to look for some washi tape, and I'm going to use this My Mind's Eye one with the arrows because again the arrows are kind of the pinkish red color, and I'm going to place them on the right hand side so that they're pointing up to the card that my son drew because it's not on the same horizontal line as that pocket. I wanted to point up to it just so that you knew that that's what it went with. So again, I found a label from October Afternoon, and I'm just sticking it onto a piece of cardstock to cut out, again, just so I can move it around a little bit and make sure I know where it's going to go. I wanted to add a little bit of dimension to the arrows, so I'm going to find some Pseudo Calico wood veneer arrows and just layer them over the arrows on the washi tape. And I really like, it's not a 3D effect necessarily, but I like that it adds that dimension but keeps the arrow theme going. So I'm just going to glue those on quickly, and I'm going to sew through those later as well and add my label. And I'm going to have a little bit of journaling just because, again, I am on one page. I don't have a lot of room for journaling, so it's just going to be a tiny bit, and I'm fine with that. I don't think that every pocket has to have a ton of journaling, and I'm not going to stress out about leaving big spaces for journaling if I don't have that ability. So I'm just going to stamp the date and move on to the left pocket, and this one's only going to require me just to stick these photos onto a 4x6 card just so that they don't shuffle around. And that's pretty much it for that one. So I have one pocket left for a week in review card, so I'm going to use an October Afternoon library card, and it's in a pink, kind of that pinky red color that I was trying to pull together on this one side of the spread. And I'm going to use the snap alphabets from Simple Stories, and I'm going to spell out noted instead of week in review this time, and I'm going to use that for my title. So at this point I've lost my X-Acto knife in the mess on my desk, so I'm just using the tips of my scissors to pick the letter stickers off of the sheet. Later on I'm going to add my checklist journaling, and I'll just trim off that bottom part of the card so it fits in the pocket. On the card that my son drew on, I'm going to just add the date, and I'm going to embellish the bottom left corner that looks a little empty to me. So I'm just flipping through my October Afternoon tidbits and doodads and just looking for any little items that might work with the theme I have there. So I found this little noteworthy tab, and it again has that pinky red color. So I'm just going to stick that on the bottom corner, and I'm just going to trim off the extra with my scissors. Now once I've done that and flip the card over, I realize that it kind of has like a little swooshy flip at the bottom that it should be placed a little bit further down and trimmed off. So I'm just going to remove it and do that and trim it again. And I'm going to be much happier with it like that, but I still think it needs a little bit more. So I'm going to open the pack of Freckled Fawn Wood Veneer. These are the new stars and asterisks and little kind of diamond shapes. And I'm going to pick an asterisk because I already have a star on the upper left. I wanted something a little different, but kind of similar. And I'm going to pick off a little enamel dot and add that. And once I'm happy, I will just glue it down and overlap it on the tag a little bit. So now that the spread is mostly done, I'm going to take my cards over to my sewing machine and sew down the titles and the washi and some of the paper elements. My challenge this week for you is to alter some pre-made embellishments and use them in your Project Life spread. Thank you for joining me this week, and I can't wait to see your pages in the gallery.